Hi, this is Mark Riehl, NK Agronomist, and I'm at the Horizon plot at Lowry Farm in Uniopolis, and we're looking at a starter trial where we did on-seed starter for each of the varieties in the trial, and we did it across those hybrids. And so in between the blue flags that we'll show is actually had 3 gallon of on-seed starter with the PCT complete starter mix, and then the next 8 rows will be without. And we'll just talk through those hybrids as we drive along and look at the different hybrids and how they did and how they performed. So we'll start here, and you can see that there's a lot of water damage, and this is actually 1205 NK 1205 112 day, and again we're starting with the first 8 rows with it, and then we move out of it, and really didn't see a substantial difference between in this hybrid of 1205. We moved to NK 0440 104 day, really high, really flexy ear type, and this is under starter, or excuse me, this is 0472. So this is an early no-till hybrid that comes out of the ground fairly quickly, and even with this hybrid, for the early vigor, it looks like we've got a little bit of a response. I didn't see a population difference, but I did see a little better height, and with that hybrid slightly better. Now we have NK 0440. This is kind of a high maintenance type, and this is with the starter and these first 8 rows, and then we'll move into 0440, and you can see a noticeable difference between the two here. And the 0440 without the starter, really struggling to come out of the ground, smaller plant height, smaller capabilities, and just really struggling in that situation. This next hybrid is an experimental 105 day. You can see that it's obviously going to be high maintenance. It doesn't have really deep color to it. It's a real light colored hybrid. So definitely a difference here with starter than versus without. We actually did plant stand count differences. It's about 2,500 plants more for the treated. This next one is NK 0886, and amazingly, even with this one, the 3 gallon starter probably showed a little bit of a difference versus not having it, and you can kind of pick that up here. Not necessarily in plant stand did I see it, but in crop height and leaf and texture. This next hybrid is 0968, and we call that a high maintenance hybrid, so we knew that starter would probably help us a little bit here. We actually did have pretty good emergence on both sides, but you do have slightly bigger plants where we have the starter versus where we don't. So it did make a slight difference on that. This next hybrid is 1026, and I was kind of surprised with this one how much the starter made a bigger difference than without, and it's noticeable in leaf size. These plants are actually at the same stage, but you can really pick up the difference here, and 10 and 26 really shows a lot of difference. I think when we get closer to toward the end of June, I want to come out, because we see that hybrid will tiller when it's in favorable environments versus not, and so that'll actually help fill in some of those gaps being there. 1082 is next, and with this hybrid we see a little bit of a difference. Early on we saw more coming out of the ground. We did see a plant stand difference, about 1,500 to 2,000 plants more with the starter than without, but it seems like it's holding pretty good color, and we've got pretty decent populations with that one. So again, that's a high management type hybrid, kind of high responsive, so we'll see how that goes from there. 1188, this is a new hybrid for this year, a little shorter plant type, will come out of the ground pretty slow. It tends to stack its nodes a little bit more, but we did see a noticeable color difference between starter and not in this hybrid, and so it is making a slight difference for that. The next hybrid we have is 1239, and this is a new hybrid this year. This is a big plant type, and I think this will be a noticeable hybrid when you come back about the V8 to V10 stage. This thing really takes off. A lot of guys from the south have talked about how this hybrid can take advantage of the additional nutrients and everything. This was recently side dressed, and even with this one, where I'm definitely seeing the starter effects with that hybrid as well. It's showing up fairly good, just in plant height, not necessarily in plant stands. So we had pretty good plant stands coming out of it. This is an experimental, and in this one, I really didn't notice as huge of a difference between the two. I think this whole plot, or this whole area, is just kind of struggling because of the excess water, and it's just taking its time. But it does look like we did get slightly better plant stand, but none of it is unbelievable. So we'll just see. And then we go into 115 day, and this is a hybrid that I wanted to test for a starter trial. It's a little slower out of the ground, and you could actually pick it up at the V2 stage, V1, V2. We're at V3 now, almost V2 to V3. You could really pick up the differences between the starter and no starter. And at the other end of the field, where we actually got some height to it, you can still pick up the starter versus no starter difference. A little more plant height, a little better, but like this end, this has always been underwater, so it's struggling. And the last hybrid in this trial is 1573, and again, another full season type hybrid. But this hybrid, we've had a lot of people tell us that it's even coming off a little bit earlier. Now this hybrid tends to have a lot of vigor, and obviously the water damage is taking that. But you know, it's struggling here, and I think that either here it didn't necessarily take advantage of the starter. I think it takes advantage of those later foliars. And we appreciate you guys participating in this, and I think from when we talk about management and doing those kind of things, we have a lot of hybrids that will take advantage of those starter programs, and we can see that even hybrids that we could tell pretty good coming out of the ground, like 0886 and 1026, definitely showed a bigger difference. So thanks for your time.